Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, sorry, it's like the second session. So good afternoon and welcome to all of you. So I hope that all of you are enjoying the journey of getting enrolled to the discipline. I understand that all of you must be kind of curious at the same time, unnerved how to go about with the things. So I would first and foremost encourage you to go through the syllabus. Do you have access to the syllabus? Okay, so a lot of you have already been enrolled into the group. Few of you might not have been enrolled into the sociology group because your phone numbers were not like provided. Either the number was not functional, so we had to send the invite link, or the number was not probably like provided. Like Shubhajit, I remember from Kolkata, your number was not provided. So all those students who have yet not been enrolled into the Telegram group of sociology, you can check you are present in two groups. There are two groups in which you are present. One is for administrative purpose, one is for sociological academic discussion. So if you have yet not been enrolled into it, both are closed groups. So just reach out to Maram sir. I'll share his number towards the end of the session. Please do so, because you are going to find a lot of competent conversation going on other than what happens in the lecture. Lecture is definitely the massive part of it, but simultaneously a lot of questions, curiosities, I would say the queries that students have related to certain basic concepts, even terms in which they get stuck. They tend to put that in the group that, ma'am, this term, what does it imply? What does it mean? If a future session is coming up, I definitely say that wait till that session. Right now, just read what has been provided. If I feel that no, an immediate addressal is needed because it is associated with this given chapter which the student is studying, I immediately provide the explanation of it then and there in the group. There are three ways in which I interact in the group. First is I provide you the content in the form of a soft copy, or maybe I type the answer. Second is sometimes I send audio messages when I feel there's a lot of typing involved and I can explain it better and faster by an audio message. So I send an audio message. Sometimes I even make a video. So you are like in a regular interaction even after the class. You are also provided with soft copy of books in the group. I also encourage all of you to go ahead with Amanpreet and I think Ashutosh, all of you, I hope all of you can see the lecture now, right? We were fixing some technical issues. So that's the thing. All right. So Shimla Center, good morning, and Thane and Itanagar, all the students, Dehradun, all the regional centers, all of you, welcome. So rather good afternoon. Second time I said good morning. All right. So it's probably that it's the first session. The first is hinting to the morning part subconsciously. All right. So when we are discussing about the possibility of how we are going ahead with the discipline, because first I would explain you the structure, how we would enroll this subject. So you'll realize that in the class, I'll be giving you the simplistic explanation, the easiest explanation possible, even examples from day-to-day life lifted, and making sociology as applied, as relevant as possible for you, so that you enjoy the discipline, you can have a sense of connectivity, and you understand the rationale of what has been taught. One. Second, we'll be providing you with a handout. So I'll just share the handout with all of you. So when we are discussing about the handout, you all can see this on the screen. So this is the version of the handout. I have not put any logos over here. So when I'll be teaching in the class, there won't be any logos. But when we'll be sharing the soft copy, you'll find there'll be a relatively milder logo placed here and there. Because that's the way the material is shared. So this handout is, I would say, it's a basic explanation of the topic which is being taught. This is most of the times what teachers dictate. Rather than dictating, I'll be sharing it in the form of handout. But in this, so you'll be saving a lot of time in terms of dictation. I used to dictate a bit till 2019, 2020 COVID. I really contained the possibility of handout. 21, almost I would say almost zero dictation. Once in a while dictation used to be there, and when I say dictation, I mean to say fat paragraphs. Flowcharts and all I'll keep drawing. Explaining and underlining keywords will keep happening. All right. So that's something for which you need to note down. But whatever is being dictated, I mean, just imagine if I would have dictated you these many number of pages. What would have happened to you? I mean, 3 lectures, you would have been taking 2 hours of dictation each day, half an hour of explanation. How about giving all of it to you today and explaining you all the concepts? Also comparing it with respect to the previous year question paper. What kind of questions come with respect to what we are studying? And once in a while, also making certain, like as you all can see, that there are certain PPTs which I prepare for explaining the concepts. So that, like, in PPT also I keep drawing, making flowcharts. For details, there will be the handout. And then there is a third stage. After you complete the chapter, probably a chapter or 2, because it's the beginning of the session, you'll also be provided with a booklet. A booklet which will comprise of all the different chapters which are there in your syllabus. Have I written the booklet? No. The booklet is basically a consolidation of information from various sources. So, like, let us say today when we are going to start with this given chapter, Sociology the Discipline. So, in this, all of you can see there are 3 subtopics which are there in the syllabus, as all of you can see. So, it's like modernity and social changes in Europe. Then you can see an emergence of sociology. Then scope of the subject and comparison with other social sciences. And third is sociology and common sense. 3 subtopics related to chapter 1. Now, with respect to these 3 subchapters, if I want you to do some reference reading, like let us say from T.B. Baltimore, maybe I want you to read something from IGNU, just a para or 2, because IGNU is way too detailed. So just a para or 2 which I feel is analytical and reflective. Something from T.B. Baltimore, and also like few paras from Ritzer. So what I'll do is I'll just pick in the insights from them, and I have got it typed. So I have done the basic homework of blending the 3 sources and getting it prepared in the form of a booklet. The entire syllabus, you will be receiving it in the form of 4 booklets. Okay. हो सकता है, like that is possible that certain individuals might, like while couriering the material to all the regional centers, they might break it into 8 booklets also. So 4 or 8 doesn't make a difference. It's just that all the chapters will be consolidated. All right. So I hope that makes sense. So booklet is little higher version. It is tougher than what is being explained in the class. It is tougher than what is there in the handout. When I say handout, what is handout? The material which I'm not dictating, I'm providing in the form of a soft copy, so that you save your time from taking down the dictation. I hope that sounds sensible. So once you have understood the lecture, you have read the handout, you have become thorough with the concept, then you are competent to do some academic reading, some reference academic reading. Why academic reading is required? Why reference reading is required? Because your competitors are doing so. Because your professor is doing so. The person who is evaluating your copies, those individuals are continuously in a habit of getting exposed to academic language of writing sociological answers. The answers are not like GS. They are not having common lingos. They are having technical sociological words mentioned in the answer. Until and unless a student is not exposed to the pattern of reading that language, getting exposed to that language, till that time the student cannot articulate that language, isn't it? You cannot write in that language. So you need to have a reading habit whereby you're getting exposed to how academicians, theorists, thinkers talk about that topic, write about that topic. What do I expect from you when you're reading those books? In the first reading, do not make any notes. Just first reading, flip through. Just run para after para after para. You'll realize that 70% to 80% of the content is already covered in the handout. Some 20% of insight, critical analysis, you're gaining after reading the booklet. Consolidate those points in these handouts. When you consolidate those points, when you note down those extra points, your note becomes perfect. All right. So you can treat the handout as the base material. And you can keep adding pages if needed, or you can keep adding some stick-ons if needed, or you can add something with pen or pencil if needed. So if there is a lot of material, you can add a page. If there is lesser material, then you can go ahead with probably adding something like a stick-on. And if there is even lesser material, you can note it down in the page itself. Dirty it, use it. It's your material. Touch it, feel every word, and get into the habit of owning each and every corner of the handout so that you can reproduce it. At least this level should be reproduced to begin with. All right, I hope that's making sense. Yeah, so this is how we are going to unfold and enroll all the given dimensions per se. So I hope all the students who are attending the session online, everything is good. Now everyone can see that. Yeah, so and you can just listen to me. You can see the screen. Everything is working fine. So satellite centers, I can see it's smooth right now. Okay. So with respect to this, as we are going to enroll with this first topic, we all can see there are words like modernity and social changes in Europe and the emergence of sociology. So first aspect is the background. What background led to the emergence of sociology? And then due to all those conditions, how sociology has emerged and what is the reason responsible for it? What is the reason behind it? All right. So when we are speaking of this term modernity, what is your idea of modernity, people? What do you understand by the word modernity? In general, in common parlance, what do you understand by modernity? All the online students, like just start typing. Let me see your answer. Yes, people? Rest of you? What is modernity? You may go wrong, but that's okay. You're not supposed to be perfect. And I'm aware of that. That's why you're sitting in the class, right? So let us play. So what is modernity? Okay, it's associated with Renaissance. Okay, and what else? Scientific temperament, something else? Something else? Okay, yes, opposition of traditional practices. All right. So I really appreciate the answers because in common parlance, when you see a layman talking about the idea of modernity, they have the idea of modernity with respect to something which is contemporary, something which is happening right now, immediately. Can we consider the things that are happening right now as quote unquote modern? Anything which is contemporary, is it modern? I repeat the word anything. Anything that is contemporary, is it modern? Not necessarily. Why? Because, for example, what all happens in the contemporary times which you feel is not modern? Practices like, expressions like, yes. What are the experiences and expressions which you feel are not modern? Child marriage? Child labor? Yeah? Human trafficking? Bondage? Discrimination? Do you feel that all this is modern? Yeah? Is this modern? No. Why it is not modern? Because what is the reason that you consider it's not modern? Because modernity, when it laces in itself rational and scientific temperament, it also laces within itself broader human values. Values like liberty, equality, fraternity. The values which were also enshrined in the French Revolution, which gave impetus to the entire revolution, right? So when we speak of the idea of modernity, modernity needs not mean anything and everything that's happening in the present time, in contemporary times, to be associated with the idea of modern. Contemporary does not mean modern. There can be a lot of practices which are contemporary but not modern. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, we call him as the modern man of India, isn't it? Though he is 150 years back, he was living at that time, right? But why do we call him a modern man? Because he went for social reforms which were based on equality, which were based on freedom, isn't it? Again, when we speak of the idea of modernity, is modernity associated with westernization? Is Western modern? Yes. Can we consider Western to be modern? People? Is Western modern? To a certain extent, okay. So why do we consider Western as modern? And when is it not modern? So we consider those Western expressions and ideas as modern because see, the idea of modernity has actually existed in almost all primitive civilizations and they have evolved with the idea of modernity by and by. All the civilizations which have indulged in harmonious coexistence, respecting diversity, all those civilizations, I mean, we see in ancient times, we had the idea of Sarva Dharma Sambhava. We had the idea of, we can say, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means the entire earth is like an extended kinship. Sarva Dharma Sambhava means everyone's moral code of conduct should be treated equally. Even if there are differences in the moral code of conduct, but till the time the righteousness is maintained, the diversity of morality should be respected and accepted. So when this acceptance of pluralism, this acceptance of diversity, when this idea of freedom was constantly appreciated, when the experiments of democracy were carried forward in ancient Greece or in India, when we are talking about, you must be knowing about the city-states, right? The merchants like ruling in different parts. There were educational and academic centers in India, right? So different parts of the world, they were experimenting with their own idea of modernity. That's why we cannot let West hijack the idea of modernity, that modernization or modernity is equal to westernization. No, not really. But yes, beyond doubt, West can be given credit to develop and establish a lot of institutions which we believe in today's date to be associated with the idea of modernity. Like the institution of democracy, like the present forms of governance, like the modern judiciary, right? We can see the patterns of bureaucracy existing in different parts of the world. So we can see that a lot of credit goes to the West for developing a lot of institutions. Getting it? So it's not that West is the only place where the experiments of modernity were carried forward, but beyond doubt, the present institutions, they evolved and developed massively in the West. And that's why many people feel that Westernization and modernization are one and the same, but it's not. West suffers from its own problems of going traditional. And when I say traditional, I mean it in a regressive sense, not in a positive sense. Because traditions can be also based on some social rationalism which was evolved over the centuries. But there can be some traditions which have lost their relevance over the time period. Right? Anyway, so when we are speaking about the idea of modernity, so when we ask about the idea of modernity, we can see that it has unfolded in three ways. One, at the level of ideas. Second, at the level of political experiences. And third, at the level of economic experiences. The three levels of modernity or the three components of modernity have articulated themselves in three ways. What are the three ways? So we all can see that when we speak of this idea of modernity, it has articulated itself first and foremost when we are talking about the intellectual revolution. Okay. So this is like when we are talking about the intellectual revolution that occurred during the time period of Renaissance. So this time period of Renaissance, it gave birth to the period of enlightenment, and that is how we all can see that the idea of modernity, it unfolds itself. That is how we can see that the idea of modernity in terms of individual rights, people's freedom, people's articulation of their ideas, people not going voiceless, their expressions being heard and adhered to, right? Because during the time of monarchy, what was there? Were the opinions of the people even regarded? No, not really, right? So when we start talking about the ideas of democracy, when we talk about the ideas of liberty, when we talk about the rights related to education, when we speak of delimiting the interference of religious institutions, not only in polity, but also social life, then the idea of secularism rises. See, students of political science and PubEd also study the concept of secularism. But when they discuss about the idea of secularism, that is dissociating the state from the institution of religion. So state means the political institution, the political body, dissociating it from the institution of religion. That's what it means. Generally, political science and PubEd students will discuss this idea of secularism like that. But when in sociology we discuss about the idea of secularism, it's not just dissociating the state from the institution of religion, but along with the state, along with the polity, the society, the social processes also tend to become secular. They tend to free themselves from the clutches of, from the interpretations of religion. For example, when we talk about the idea of education. So when education is free from religious influence, it becomes secular education. Are you understanding that, all of you? So the word secular is not only just a political idea, it is associated with the social idea as well. So when we speak of intellectual revolution or the period of enlightenment, it will give you a lot of new ideas about way to exist, how to live, how to survive. All right? I hope all of you are understanding this bit. Okay. Similarly, we can see that there was French Revolution and there was intellectual revolution. So these three components, they become the three components associated with what? The three components associated with the period of modernity, the rise of modernity. So three components of modernity when we speak of it. Okay. So the three components of modernity is what? That is period of enlightenment, French Revolution, Industrial Revolution. So now when we are discussing about this idea of modernity, okay, then I'll be sharing this with all of you. Okay, you can keep noting down, I don't mind, because that will keep you attentive. That's perfectly all right. Okay, so when we discuss about, but if anyone misses out in noting down, don't get scared that, oh my God, I'm going to miss on something massive. No, not really. Okay, so when we speak about the idea of modernity, we can also connect it with, just a second, I'll open the Windows journal. Where is the journal? Because the one which is open is not functional. All right. So when we are speaking about the idea of like modernity, we need to understand with respect to this that the idea of modernity, first and foremost, what is it associated with? What do we call as modern? Which I discussed with all of you, which all of you in fact substantiated that, ma'am, it is the rational scientific temperament. This is based on rationality. This is based on logic. When we question everything, we don't obey things for the sake of it. We are not following things for the sake of it. We tend to contest. We tend to ask why, what, how. So what is modernity? Then you need to understand the components of modernity. Okay, the components of modernity. So getting back to the game as we have been discussing, when we discuss about the idea of modernity, that what is it that we consider about modernity? So what is modernity? So it is coming from the Latin word called modos. Okay, and modos, what does it mean? It means that thinking something new. So thinking new, thinking beyond tradition, thinking in a new manner. If I quote Ritzer, then Ritzer had discussed about the idea of modernity from three perspectives. First, he said that it is thinking new or thinking different. Second is opposing the tradition. And third is you have a comparative process or a comparative analysis constantly going on in your mind. You're not accepting things on the face value. You remember the three words? You can start your answer related to modernity. You can explain the answer or you can define the word modernity with due ease. Okay. Then when we are speaking about modernity in a broader sphere, then what is the idea of modernity? We all can see that when we discuss about modernity, it is something which will encourage, like we can say, human progress. It is something which will encourage scientific temperament. It will encourage innovation. It is something which will constantly help you to question and rationalize whatever is being, like, let's say, practiced. So all the keywords I have just provided over you, and I've underlined that these are the keywords you need to memorize, okay? And that is something which is helping you to constantly use your mind over your heart, means use your rationality over your emotions. Are you understanding that? And when you're using your rationale over the emotions, you're constantly trying to find effective scientific solutions to whatever is unfolding. Okay? So when we are discussing about this very idea of modernity, it will sound very technical and very, I would say, subject oriented, that, okay, these are the three components of modernity, how period of enlightenment happened, how French Revolution happened, how, like, industrial revolution happened, how change happened. I mean, all this is something which actually gets asked. But if you don't know the background of it, you cannot connect why the change happened. So let me give a brief background to the idea of modernity. Okay. So when we speak about that, but the background that I'm sharing with you, that is something which should be known to each one of you, but you should also remember one more thing, that when we are discussing about the background, no questions will come from the background. But in the absence of understanding of the background, you cannot understand what's happening during the time period when sociology is emerging in its initial phase or initial stage. So we'll see that all the rumble tumble starts happening in the 19th century with respect to the emergence of sociology. We can say in 20th century, sociology is trying to hold its ground, like, affirmatively as a separate discipline. And in 21st century, it is constantly maturing. So the three stages, 19th, 20th and 21st century, you blend the three and your wholesome preparation of sociology is done. So first, we are going to discuss about 19th century, how we reached till the 19th century, the background of it, means what was happening in 14th, 15th, 16th, just briefly consolidating it into like 2-3 little paragraphs and giving you an insight about the background. So when we speak about, like, let's say, the idea of modernity and how it is articulating itself, so all of you need to understand that in the primitive times or in the ancient times, you all know that man has been a social animal and staying in communities, right? Quite gregarious in nature and staying in communities. That's how human beings could survive also, because man, from, I would say, the very early stages, had more needs than man could create himself or produce himself. So he realized that even if the person is not liking the other human being, he has to stay in a society, because only by staying in the society all the needs can be fulfilled. Work can be divided and outsourced. So society becomes an inevitable necessity for mankind to survive together. So as society comes into existence, so society, it's basically an abstract idea. The explicit idea, the visible articulation of a society is in the form of community. And communities get created in the form of human relations. And human relations, they come into existence on the basis of either blood relations, first and foremost, or by kinship relationships, like relatives that we have, or we can have it on the basis of marriage, that is affinal relations, right? And other than that, also friends, peers, neighborhood, all of it creates our community. So when we say that, oh my God, this has happened, what will people say? Who is this people? The people is the society, the community in which we live, the community which we belong to, we associate ourselves with, okay? And this idea of community also has geographical identity. It has geographical presence, right? So as communities expanded, as the civilizations grew, then we could see that the Oriental world, that is India, China, you can see to a certain extent, later on Japan. So later on Japan, because it was the Chinese, the most intelligent Chinese who migrated and created Japan, if you are aware of the history of Japan. Anyway, so we can see that as these human civilizations, pockets of human civilizations, you can see Babylon, Mesopotamia. So all these civilizations with limited means of transportation and communication, they were interacting and they were, like, carrying forward trade, commerce, interaction. over the time period in Europe, we see that bit by bit feudalism came into existence. You must be aware of it if you are aware of a bit of, I would say, medieval history and European history, right? So when feudalism came into existence, the first and foremost, the challenge was what? That how to maintain power, how to maintain the authority. So a person who is maintaining authority on the basis of holding large tracts of land, the person will not enjoy the possibility of getting the land fragmented, right? So in that situation, what will the individual do? Will try to control the size of the land, but the individual will also have progeny, means children, right? So if the person is having a lot of children, like let's say 4 sons, and like let's say there is 500 acres of land, so 125 acres each, like let's say every son is having now 5 children again. So from 125 it becomes 25 acres each. So within 2 generations, from a feudal lord, he'll become a marginal farmer, isn't it? Right? Or a small scale farmer, or middle like a farmer. So in this situation, the feudal lords realize that land cannot be fragmented and all the sons cannot be given the access to the land. What is the method that should be carried forward? So then what they did was they said that, okay, we will give the land and all the authority associated with the land to the eldest son. The rest can be made traders and merchants. So let them become traders and merchants, venture out in the world, we'll give them capital, we'll give them money, and let them venture out in the world and try to find, like, other opportunities of gaining economic well-being. Now, you can just imagine the size of France, Portugal, Spain, Britain. They're so teeny tiny, more like states in India, right? If any one of you later, as you get selected and you get an opportunity to travel, you'll realize that within, like, you're capable to travel throughout Europe within 15 days. So 15 days of train or bus trip and you can cover Europe. You can touch places and you can cover it within 15 days. It's more like covering India via bus tour. Okay, it's just like that. You'll feel that. Though the size is definitely different, but that's the condition of, I would say, most important places in Europe. So now when you have a sense of geography about Europe right now, tentatively, even if you have not been enrolled to geography in GS papers, but still you can now imagine that they are like, the countries are more like teeny tiny states of India, okay, like Uttar Pradesh and France. You can equate. In fact, the population of Uttar Pradesh is slightly more than France. Anyway, so when you can imagine all that situation, then think what the people will do, what the feudal lords will do. So they'll encourage the sons that you please go to other places and venture for the possibilities. So you see the British, the French, the Portuguese, the Spain, they start exploring other parts of the world. When they explore Latin America, then they realize that there are a lot of silver and gold mines. And let us carry the riches with ourselves back to Europe. And when they are carrying those like silver and like we can say gold ore, and when they are melting it, and after that when they are creating the metal and then introducing the world of coinage, we can see the entire economy undergoes a massive shift. Prior to that, the soldiers, they were paid through salt. The word salary, it comes from the root word salt. The word salary is connected to the word salt. So earlier, majority of the trade and exchange was taking place through salt. Okay. Now, with the exposure to the other worlds, metals are coming, ores are coming, and it is easy to now introduce coins. Okay. That's a basic transformation. A transformation which is changing the monetary transaction of that specific region. After that, what all changes can we witness? Then we see that they travel to China, they get access to mariner's compass that facilitates navigating. They get access to printing press, they can now print the maps. That is also facilitating navigation, isn't it? A lot of raw materials they can get. Earlier, like, Italy was taking complete control and command over Oriental world because they had the control over the trade route, the land route. So they were controlling the land route and they were controlling all the spices, they were controlling all the silk that was coming from India and China. So all these other countries, they were constantly looking for some other routes. So you learn about Vasco da Gama, right? In the 15th century, late 15th century, he travels all the way and he tries to trace route to India, right? So all these different types of explorers, traders, they start finding their way to the Oriental world and other parts of the world from where they can extract raw materials and goods. Now the surprising part is, do you ever see them settling in different parts of the world? Majority of them, they want to get back to Europe, isn't it? Even when East India Company comes to India, I mean, unlike the Mughals who came and who settled, and various others, like we can see the Shaks, the Huns, the Kushanas, they came and they settled in India. They married and they blended, the Shaks, Huns and Kushanas, okay? So there was assimilation in their case. Integration in the case of Mughals, they maintained their identity but coexisted. So integration happened. Assimilation means intermixing like a khichdi, like a pudding, okay? So when things blend so very well that you cannot differentiate the two. So can we trace Shaks, Huns and Kushanas in India? No. They are blended together. They are a part of the society, right? Part of the society means part of the society in such a manner you cannot even identify them. They can be a part of any community, a part of any identity, right? So that's assimilation. Okay, integration is you can find different communities and you can still find all of them peacefully coexisting. Now, when you're understanding this part, then what happens is that all these companies, when they are venturing out in different parts of the world, they want to take the goods, but they want to go back and settle in their own country. Now, what happens because of that? When they are picking up all the different types of, I would say, goods, they are picking up all the different types of services, all the different types of lessons and learning, then because of which, what happens? We all can see that these individuals, they bring in new technology and new innovation to their own countries. Again, the serfs. Do you think that all the peasants who are cultivating the land, do you think that they are also very comfortable in their situation? No. There will be hidden unemployment. There will be boys and girls who are very talented. They don't want to cultivate the land, but they have no way out, right? So the traders and merchants who are encouraging innovation, who want innovation, they will like hire these people. I mean, women had a relegated position in the traditional society to begin with, not encouraged to get into innovation. Even scientists still, we can see 19th, 20th century, early 20th century also, they were not even recognized. There were so many, like you can read about the history of Marie Curie and you can see the kind of like challenges women experienced. So that's why I'm purposefully leaving out the word women. Don't think that I'm having gender biases. It's how society was. So that's how I'll choose the language. All right. Then you'll realize that men were enrolled, those men who were curious and interested, they were enrolled in the process of building new machines, creating new technology. Now, because of that, what we realize is that, I hope that's not very troublesome, the mic, yeah, because constantly it's like once in a while creating this kind of noise. Okay. So when we are talking about this idea of materialism and when we are discussing about how the world starts articulating itself, then we see that all these men, when they get into innovation and scientific discoveries and innovations, they start finding out machines, they start finding out solutions which can help in bulk production. So as the machines and industries start operating, see, in India also we had karkhanas. The word karkhana has existed since the Mughal times. But the difference between a modern machine and a karkhana is not only with respect to the nature and the size of production, but also the nature of human effort involved. In a karkhana, still you can see the cottage industry, artisans involved, some kind of human labor and uniqueness involved, work being shared between man and machine. But the moment we move to the idea of mechanization, industrialization, there will be bulk production and minimal human effort will be needed. Minimal human energy will be needed. In this situation, what happens? When a lot of, we can see that production gets articulated and the societies and communities or countries in Europe are relatively smaller in size, can they consume all the goods which are getting produced? No. So now they need a fresh market. Now they need a new market. So where will they find the market? Those countries from where raw material was picked. Those countries with which trade relations were carried forward. So they'll start venturing out for new market. That is how we see colonialism and imperialism later articulated itself, right? And when colonialism articulates itself, like East India Company coming here, the French company coming here, the Portuguese company coming here, right? So the Portuguese, you remember it, they came around Goa, right? The French, they came around Pondicherry, that is Puducherry. And we can see the British, they came like in the area of this Kolkata, right? So we can see from all areas, these companies are traveling, and this is not only India, different parts of the world. They are picking raw material. They are trying to influence the politics of the region. They are trying to manipulate the resources and dump the raw material, sorry, the finished products in the market. So bit by bit, this articulation happens. Now, this is the economic change. What is the political change that happens? So politically, we can see that the society, now see, who is ruling? Initially, kings are ruling, queens are ruling, right? And kings are having a lot of power. They are having the supreme authority. There is divine rule of law whereby the king is considered as the representative of the god, and whatever the king says has to be obeyed. It cannot be questioned or contested, right? Then what happened? These traders and merchants, you'll realize if I quote the French society, so you see that the French society is divided into three parts. One is the clergy. Clergy, who are the clergy? If we are speaking of them, the clergy are associated with the religious institutions, okay? So when we'll be talking about it, don't worry. I mean, right now I'm just introducing this to all of you. So don't worry, oh my God, like I cannot get a full sense, or oh my God, I am unable to follow the order. Nothing. You'll follow all the order tomorrow onwards. Today, just listen to it like a story. Because first you need to understand the narration. You need to understand the background. When you know the story, and when the formal engagement with right technical words is done, you start grabbing it. So first today, just enjoy it like a little story. Story of sociology. Story of birth of sociology. How about that? Okay. A simplistic understanding. Human beings are storytelling and story listening community. Very naturally it comes to them. So when they listen to anecdotes and stories, they remember it. When it comes to technical language and technical expressions, they're like, oh my God, it's getting so tough. I'm just like feeling it's tough to grab. So that's why you'll realize that in the lecture, I will simplify the concepts in such a manner that you'll realize as if you listened to a narrative. When you'll be reading the handouts, or even later when you'll be reading the booklets, you'll be like, oh my God, this is so tedious. Sometimes when I'll be posting things, information in the group, you'll realize the same thing. That what is posted in the group is something very technical, loaded with a lot of technical sociological terms and jargons. And this is the level which I have to prepare up to. But for enrolling you into the subject, for generating and rousing your interest, for creating that sense of curiosity and connectivity, first one has to create a sense of orientation. That listen to the story, what happened. What exactly happened to human beings? Why human beings felt that a new discipline is needed for studying society, and how other human beings who were having other subjects enrolled to other subjects, they protested. Why will they protest? They're like, what is society? Society is about dealing with economic affairs, political affairs, like, you know, any affair. You are talking about geographical affairs, the history of the society. We have different disciplines for everything. If we have to study about economics of the society, there is economics. The history of the society, we have history. The politics of the society, we have political science. So for every single discipline, every single aspect of the society, we have a different discipline. Why do we need a new discipline per se? So this debate will come. This debate will be discussed, and then you'll realize how sociology is emerging in a specific context. Okay? But if you listen to the entire narrative, you listen to it and you understand, okay, this happened, then this, then this, then this. And then when I'll be talking about formally what was happening in Industrial Revolution, what was happening in French Revolution, what was happening in like the period of Enlightenment, that will make more sense. Then you will be open to absorb the technical words. Right now, if I just give you 3-4 extra words also, you'll be like, ah, that was something new word. I'm feeling nervous. When I can't understand the word, how can I understand the concept? So I'm just trying to play it easy, okay, in a more like narrative format, all right? So and just see the questions if there are any. So when we are talking about this, so I said that if I quote the French society, we can see that there are three communities existing: the first estate, the second estate, and the third estate, right? So when we are discussing about it, when we are, you would like the hard copy, okay? With respect to the hard copy, let me share this with all of you. The booklets will be sent to all of you in the, the booklets will be sent in the form of hard copy to all of you. Like those who are attending the lecture offline, you will be collecting the booklets in a short while as the management stabilizes with all the administrative processes. So you will be provided with the booklets so that you start reading. To the regional centers, the booklets shall be dispatched. They shall be sent to all of you so that you can start reading it then. And handouts will be something which will be provided in a soft copy. Okay, because I'm just saving myself from dictation, and so much of topic after topic printouts cannot be provided, because after every change in a topic, a new handout will be there. For every new chapter, a new handout will be there. So that to maintain clarity and to maintain the ease of learning. All right. So that's something which all of us can connect with in terms of notes that you are asking. Okay. Is the booklets available in the market? No. Luckily, that is something which was saved. Okay. The booklets are not available in the market. They will be mailed and they will be sent in hard copy. Okay. So modernity and enlightenment are not the same. Enlightenment is a component of modernity. Modernity is a byproduct. So modernity is what? When we speak of modernity, there is intellectual revolution, there is political revolution, there is economic revolution. Economic revolution is referred as industrial revolution, political revolution is connected to French revolution, and intellectual revolution is connected to period of enlightenment. So this plus this equals to modernity. All right? Understanding that? So modernity is a formula or a outcome of three processes: political process, economic process, and the intellectual process, right? Okay. So when we are discussing about the French society, and with respect to the French society, when I say that the French society can be observed in three forms. So one is the clergy. Clergy are the religious priests. So you will see the bishops, the archbishops, the cardinals. They are very powerful. In certain parts of France, the condition was so terse, they were not even interested in religion, religious preaching, or living a life of abstinence. They were completely into, I would say, alcoholism, completely into enjoying life and making merry and exploiting the people big time. They were interested in interfering and controlling the politics of the day. The condition of the abbot who was working at the grassroots level, it was he who was struggling. It was he who was struggling with even dearth of finances and how to regulate the church. But on the upper class, you can see there was massive exploitation going on. One. Then we can see the second estate, that is the nobility, and they are of two types: nobility of swords and nobility of robes. So nobility of swords, who are they? So nobility of swords are, you can just keep noting down if you want. So nobility of swords, who are they? So these people are who can we call them? The feudal lords. Okay, the feudal lords. So these feudal lords, they were saying that the nobility of swords, the feudal lords, they said that, well, we are going to control the territory, we are going to protect whom? The peasants, the farmers. Truth is, they were also having a luxurious life. They were not really paying attention to the conditions of we can say, the poor peasants and what they are undergoing and what kind of changes or challenges are experienced by these people and what kind of intervention is needed. Then we can see this nobles of robes. These nobles of robes are associated with, we can see the judges, we can see the bureaucrats. Okay, so when we are talking about noble of robes, these are the individuals who are actually taking control and command of the law and order situation. They are supporting the maintenance of the law and order or the politics of the day of the given society. Their condition is also relatively well off. So the first estate and the second estate, they are not paying any taxes and they are having a luxurious life. It is the third estate that is suffering. In the third estate also there are two classes. Okay, one which you can see the peasants, the artisans, the poorer sections of the society. And second was that of the merchants, the traders, who were also put under the third estate. The third estate didn't have any right to vote. It didn't enjoy any political, we can say, importance, and was constantly struggling or hustling to make its presence felt. Now, what is happening is, if you see, if I connect it little earlier, then the history of France, if I talk about Louis XIV, at his time, a lot of loans were taken from the banks and the condition was quite explosive. After Louis XIV, Louis XV comes into existence and he clearly says, he goes for expensive wars. And after expensive wars, he clearly says that, I know that after me, the situation is going to be very tough. The Louis XVI, when he comes to power, he's like, after me, deluge is coming. If someone is saying that after me, flood is coming or deluge is coming, you can consider how explosive the situation must be. The details of the literature which provides that what the fanciness of the court of Louis XVI, they go to the extent, see, glass was a very expensive, I can say, material considered at that time. A hall in the palace was made all of glass. There were different types of expensive metals which were used. The queen was loaded with jewelry. The famous statement made by the Queen Mary Antoinette, if you don't have the bread, eat cake, which became very famous, highlights the insensitivity of the monarchy, isn't it? So when the poor people, they protested and they complained it to the Queen when she was going in a social procession, that we are really hungry, we need bread. Because inflation struck from Louis XV to Louis XVI, inflation rose by 65%. For people, it became very tough to survive within those 3 to 4 decades of shift and change that the society underwent. So when they found it very hard to even survive, and when they protested, the Queen said that, oh, she could not even imagine that if someone is saying we don't have bread to eat, it means the person has nothing to eat. She said, oh, they don't have the choice of bread, it's okay, they can choose cake then. So someone is so very rich, so very living in her own fantasy world that she cannot connect with the pathos of the people. Definitely, such situations will invite protests, isn't it? So this is what we realize, it starts unfolding, and when the protests, they start simmering. Okay, there was a background to the protest also. The background was American War of Independence. So American War of Independence, you know that America earlier was more like control under the British, and it was called British America. So Boston Tea Party, you must have heard of it, right? So when we see that in American War of Independence, when the rebellion was getting articulated, when the traders and merchants, they went for a revolt, they sought help of France. So the French soldiers went to America, and there they were surprised to see that even without having a king or a queen, people can govern themselves. So they got the idea, the sprouting of the idea, oh, without the king or queen also we can govern. So like, good, amazing, we'll go back, we'll see how we can check the situation. So you see, when we speak of American War of Independence, though it is stretched from, we can say, comfortably 1765 to 1789, but the peak, when we say that, when you consult all the sources, you'll find that it is 1775, when it is considered that the first articulation of this American War of Independence openly in public space starts taking place. Okay. And 1775 to 1779, you see that a lot of drama happens and unfolds. 1779, I connect it with Boston Tea Party and all the aftermath. 10 years later, 1789, France, which was already simmering with all kinds of protests, the kind of exploitation that was rendered to the people, heavy taxes were imposed to all classes of the third estate. Earlier, at least the poor peasants and the artisans were left from taxing. But when the state further fell into the clutches of the banks because of the heavy loans they had borrowed, They became optionless, and rather than imposing taxes on the clergy or on the nobility, they imposed the taxes on the commoners. They increased the taxes and they levied it to all. The commoners, they wanted to have a word, especially the traders, the merchants, and the words were not heard. Then came the protest. Later on, you read in history that, like, the king and the queen, they were beheaded. First the king, after a few months, the queen was also beheaded. So all that happened. Massive turmoil occurred. France paved the way for the idea of democracy, liberty, equality, fraternity. But the massive beheading that continued after 1789 to 1793, massive beheading of nobles, of clergy, sometimes even people from the third estate, merchants and traders who were trying to, grab power or some kind of exploitation getting articulated, even going for exercising guillotine over them also. Guillotine means beheading. So it was a rampant phenomena for 4 years. And this also started influencing the politics of other countries in Europe. They also started getting inspired by the idea of democracy. Now, who is sponsoring and who is funding? Now, merchants, traders, constantly I'm using this word. Who are they a part of? Third estate. And they realize that they can be powerful, they can have free access to power, they can control power, they can manipulate power, they can have ease of trade and business if they can be a part of the power, right? So how can they be a part of power when the feudal lords are overthrown, when the king or the monarchy is overthrown, isn't it? So what will be the aftermath? What will be the byproduct? Monarchy will be eliminated, right? After monarchy, feudal lords will be eliminated, and that will lead to outcome of democracy. And then they will be like, our elected representatives shall govern. That is what they'll say. And when they say that our elected representatives shall govern, now see, presently we see the idea of, let's say, when we are discussing about why not study about Asia, Subhashri, you should join the session from the beginning beta, because we are studying about Europe because the syllabus says, okay. So please try to attend the session from the very beginning so that random questions don't flow out of you. The first topic is modernity and social changes in Europe. That's why we are studying, even in the first chapter, not about Asia or India, but about Europe. All right. So this is something, the basis because of which I started this. All right. Now, it happens once in a while, This will also happen, you'll realize, in later sessions. Later sessions means when we'll crystallize as a batch and when we'll run the session, someone who will pop up in between and will not realize that I'm asking a question which is looking like on the sheet. I'm not asking something random, will ask. But I as a teacher will sense the student has joined in between, because I know what I've spoken towards the beginning. I remember the entire frame. So I can sense when a person is joining 5 minutes late, 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late, because I remember when I have spoken what concept, right? So that's what. No problem. You'll just cope up with all of this. Okay. So then what will happen? So these merchants and traders, they will try to control and command. Do you know this modern term? It's quite popular these days, crony capitalism. Have you heard it? Crony capitalism? No? And none of you have heard that? All of you online and let's say the satellite students? Anyone has heard this term, crony capitalism? Community has geographical indicators, Bhanu. That means that a community lives in a geographical space. So when I say the community of, the people, the community to which you belong, so there is a geography involved to it. The people whom you are associated with, you know them, right? Okay, good. So Shubhajit, Ashutosh, Prince, you all are aware of this term, crony capitalism. Okay. So when we speak of crony capitalism, that is a hand-in-glove relationship between the government, okay, or the politicians and the capitalist, the businessman. So when the businessman influences the law and order, when the businessman influences the policy decisions in such a manner that the politician makes the laws, the politician makes we can say policies, the interventions which suits the business of the businessman. Otherwise, when everything was made to be public and declared to the public and everything is under scrutiny, why are the, we can say, the political parties and their funds not open for public scrutiny? Why a lot of, we can say, political donations can be made without making it public? So if like, let's say a capitalist has to get his or her work done, then what can happen? In that situation, the person can fund the political party, right? And after funding the political party heavily, can encourage them that please get this law passed, this bill passed, get this tender done in our favor, get this work done in our, like, for our ease of business. I mean, how do you think that during the COVID, within 2 years, Reliance could double its business? How do you think that Adani Group, which is so very neck deep into loans, how is it surviving? And how is it growing and multiplying continuously? In past 10 years, it has, like, multiplied its profit I'm saying, not just income, profit, by more than 10 times. It has, rather than, like, when we talk about the top 10 rich people in India, like Adanis who are nowhere close, they are amongst the top 5 or rather top 3 now. How? It has happened earlier also. When the Congress government was there, at that time KPS Gill and his DLF Constructions. So DLF became a very big company. Half of Gurgaon seems to be belonging to DLF. So DLF and Gurgaon become like competent names, and as if Gurgaon belongs to DLF. It's like that. So please understand that crony capitalism is something, the concept which we speak of it right now, the seeds of it, the root of it lies in the very beginning of how democracy emerged. So democracy emerges in the context. This is something very important, which no economy teacher will share with you. That is how sociology boosts your background about what's happening, why it's happening, and how it's happening. So when we speak of how societies are changing, how societies are emerging, and when we speak about the idea of democracy, so the very idea of democracy whereby the capitalists, the traders, the merchants are sponsoring the French Revolution, and they are sponsoring political revolutions across Europe so that democracy comes into existence. Why? Because if democracy will come, they will be able to influence the politics of the day. And merchants or capitalists influencing the politics of the day, isn't it not the root idea behind crony capitalism? I repeat myself, if you could not grab it. The merchants and traders influencing the politics of the day, isn't it the root idea behind crony capitalism? When economics or people who are controlling the economics are also trying to control and influence the politics, that's what crony capitalism is all about. So the very expression of crony capitalism which we experience now due to globalization, the root of it lies in the very emergence of what? Industrialization, capitalism, and democracy, and the co-relationship between them. Interesting, right? That's why I said that first listen to it like a narrative. And you understand the concepts without the pressure of noting down, without the pressure of taking dictations, without the pressure of, like, that, oh, first the teacher will dictate. No. First, have the ease of understanding, absorbing everything. Once you understand and absorb everything, and then the notes are provided, and then I explain the notes, because all this will be explained by me. Okay, then that will make more sense. You're like, yeah, I'm familiar to the word industrial revolution. I'm familiar to the word French Revolution. I'm familiar to the word clergy, nobility. You won't be frightened or surprised. These are new words for all of you. And I understand that 90% of you are from science background, engineers by background, majority of you, few also doctors, right? So in such a situation, first familiarizing you with the concepts, the terms, the words, the background is essential, right? Okay, so when all this starts articulating itself, then economically, what do we see? That economically, the concept of laissez-faire comes into existence. Liberalism comes into existence. So liberalism we see that liberalism is a byproduct. What is liberalism and what is laissez-faire? When we say laissez-faire, this is a term which you find in economy. Economy teachers will be quoting this. So economy, when you listen to the term laissez-faire, that is the policy of non-interference. And when we say the policy of non-interference, what does that mean? Policy of non-interference? Yes. So the government shall not interfere in the procedures of the market. It will make certain rules and regulations and leave the market free for competition. So competition, that's why it's referred as a free market. So what is the idea of free market? The free market is based on the policy of non-interference, or it is also referred as policy of, or it is also referred as laissez-faire. Laissez-faire, it's a Latin word, and it means policy of non-interference. So why will the government not interfere in the economics of the day? Because it's democracy, it's liberalism. And liberalism and democracy, when they are going hand in hand, that's why you see democracy will always promote liberalism. In present day, it is promoting liberalization, the process of becoming liberal. That's why when you read about globalization, you see, you come across three terms: liberalization, privatization, globalization, isn't it? You use these three terms. Yeah. So it's not that it is happening now, 1991, India becoming liberalized. The root of it is 200 years back. And the 200 years back, the seeds that were sowed has influenced the history, polity, and the economy of the world, even the intellectual articulation of the possibilities of the world for past 200 years in a big way. Until and unless every consumer feels important, why will the consumer purchase? So in a traditional society, what was happening? In a traditional society, how did people behave? Yes. Yes, people. Can we say that crony capitalism is one of the causes of democracy? No, causes will be a very strong word. They are related. Capitalism and democracy, they are related. And crony capitalism is the ugly face of capitalism, which may or may not exist. It depends on the, we can say, the value system of the society. It depends on the people. It depends on the community, the political leaders. So saying that every time there is capitalism and democracy, there will be crony capitalism, that's not necessary. And the intensity of it will differ from country to country, society to society. Nishan. Okay. But ma'am, governments interfere in the economics of the country, then how laissez-faire work? The governments actually, they create laws, rules and regulations, and after that, they free the, we can say, the companies to compete with each other. And that's how the policy of laissez-faire articulates itself. It's not that the government is controlling. Earlier, it used to control. In 1970s, if like, let's say there was a biscuit manufacturing company. So the method was like the government will be telling who should be producing the wheat, at what rate the wheat should be purchased, what should be the quality of the wheat, how much price should be paid, how much price should be paid to the labor who's working in the factory, the biscuit factory. Then like after how much salary should be given, then what should be the other perks, emoluments, all the conditions and details were given. And then after that, the government was also regulating the price of the biscuit. You cannot sell it for more than 1 rupee. So that if the company is like, but how will I make profit? I don't care. You have to sell it at 1 rupee. Now, how you are going to manage the in-between details and still make profit, you have to take care. We have laid down all that. So that was the policy of control. At that time, liberalism was not there in Indian economy. Liberalism, slowly and steadily, it starts articulating after 1980s, but the market opens up after 1991. That is when Manmohan Singh is the finance minister of India, and under the leadership of P.V. Narasimha Rao, we go for Lpg reforms. Okay, but that's a modern day phenomenon. But you can see that when there is control and interference of the government and liberalization is not exercised, then there is no free trade, free market. Now, you just open any online app, you can get biscuits for 5 rupees also and 500 rupees also. All ranges are available. There's no restriction to prices, right? Because it's free market. You produce whatever you want and sell it at whatever price you want to sell. 30 rupees also, 70 rupees also. It's your wish, your will. Are you getting it? So that's what I hope you're understanding. I'm trying to simplify it with biscuits. That's silly, but anyway. Tony, I hope you're understanding. Now, so when you're understanding this possibility, now getting back to the background, because we have to stick to the background to understand how things are articulating for all of us. So when we are sticking to the background and when we are noticing how change is articulating itself in terms of this free markets and all of it, then what will happen? These we can say these traders, these capitalists, they will also talk about equality and liberty. Why? Because when we speak of equality, the individual gets importance. And when the individual gets importance, the individual can become a potential consumer who will purchase things for self-consumption. When you are not practicing individualism, when you are practicing, we can say, community behavior. So, okay, where do we stay as a community? In a traditional society, not in a modern society. All of you understand that, right? If I say, what is the difference between traditional and modern society? Like, ma'am, traditional society will be based on joint family. Modern society will be based on nuclear family. These are basic differences you can talk about. Why? How is market involved? How is industrial revolution involved in terms of its background, if we speak of it? And this is some generalized information which I am giving, which will also fix your background for the chapter of globalization, which is there in GS as well. Okay. So some pockets will fix your history of like GS, some pockets will fix your Indian society, and that's why a very preliminary information and a preliminary orientation that I'm giving. This is not, I repeat it again, this is probably the third time I'm saying, this is not when I'm starting the chapter. Right now I'm still playing with the basics. The articulation and opening of the chapter probably will happen for all of you tomorrow. Because right now I'm just seeing your eyes, your expressions, your sense of comfort with the terms, and just opening the terms so that you become easy. You start accepting, oh, this happened, oh, then this happened, then this happened, oh, this is associated with this, like that. When you understand the logic, then technical words, then technical explanation will follow. Okay. So when we are discussing about this specific dimension, then what happens because of this? So if, like, let us say we are staying in a joint family, what will happen? The father will sacrifice for all the children, right? For the rest of the family members. Maybe 2 members are earning quite high, 2 are earning low, but all the money is going to the common pool, and from the common pool, everyone is distributing it. Everyone's needs are duly addressed. Whereas you all can see in a nuclear family, what happens? The family is taking care of its own needs. If the relative, the uncle, or the, like, we can say aunt, means any of them, like let's say the father, sister, or brother, or mother, sister, or brother, if they are suffering economically, you don't start sharing economies. You don't start like staying together. Why? Individualism. I'll take care of my budget, my economy, my salary, my lifestyle. You take care of your lifestyle, your things, your goods, right? So capitalism will also encourage individualism because it will start giving importance to the individual. Not only when the individual is casting the vote. See, during monarchy, individual was not given importance. It was the king's opinion that was important. Anyone and everyone could have been a victim of the fury of the king. It was depending on the temperament of the king, right? But here what will happen? Every individual will get equal rights. Everyone will be treated equally before the law. So is it only a political articulation? Is it only a political change? No. Along with political change, what will happen? There will be economic change also. When the individual is getting importance politically, the individual is also getting a sense of identity individually. I want to wear these clothes. I want to purchase those colors. I want to have so many number of shoes. I want to have so many number of bags. I want to have these number of cars. Individualism. Even if my brother is suffering, even if my cousin is suffering, even if other people are not making it well, it's their problem. Individualism. Getting it? So individualism is a byproduct or thought process of modernity. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens because of a lot of changes that the society experiences at economic level, political level, and intellectual. Is that making sense to begin with? Little by little, right? Fixing little units on. So, does laissez-faire led to establishment of companies like East India? Yeah, definitely. We can consider that. The policy of laissez-faire led to establishment of a lot of, we can say, economic interventions which brought freedom to the, we can say, businessmen, and ease of business was created. Okay, why nobles of swords are called feudal? Well, what is the meaning of feudal? Oh God. Okay, this is not the level of question that you will be like asked. Why nobles of swords are called feudal? They are not called feudal. The feudal lords were referred as nobles of swords because they were fighting. Logic was this. They were fighting to protect the state. They were fighting for the rights of the, we can say, the peasants or the farmers. Okay, that's what noble of swords means. Second is nobles of robes. They are associated with the judges or people who are maintaining the law and order. Right? So I hope all of you are understanding the basics now. So, yeah. Individualism is a part of modernity because when you say liberty, did we exercise liberty or freedom? When we say freedom, freedom means freedom of choice, freedom of opportunity, right? Freedom of, like we can say, voice, we can speak it out, right? So freedom of choice, freedom of voice, freedom of opportunity, all this, who is getting the freedom? The community or the individual? The individual, right? So when we talk about freedom or liberty, when we speak of equality, when we speak of fraternity, no one is top, no one is bottom, everyone is equal. And everyone is getting the same freedom, irrespective of the social class or community the person belongs to. So when you're giving importance to the individual, whereby earlier the individual was not having the importance, one community was considered top. So if you're clergy or if you are like, let's say, nobility, you were superior and someone was inferior. In India, the Brahmins were superior and Shudras were inferior. So suddenly the idea of this French Revolution and the idea of democracy, which is a byproduct of French Revolution, it will open up the thought process. It will introduce the idea of liberty, equality, and fraternity, which will pull everyone and bring everyone on an equal pedestal. And when people become equal, irrespective of their backgrounds, economic or social, cultural status, okay, then in that situation, every individual is getting a new sense of assertion and identity. This assertion and identity gives, it further feeds the idea of individualism in the later stage. Right? Got it? Okay. So I hope all of you are understanding so far. Any questions, feel free to raise it. I'm just checking out all the questions which all of you are sharing. Will we be able to access the video clip after the live session? Yes. First 3 lectures, definitely. All those students who are associated with the online course, you will get an access to the video after, like, you know, the lecture has been taken. You'll get the access to the video. You'll get access to the material. In the group, today I will be posting, tonight probably. Tonight I'll be posting the schedule for the next 2 months. In the first month, to keep it easy and to keep it manageable for all of you, I'll just take 3 lectures. But it does not mean that only 3 lectures will be taken. After the 3 lectures, the rest 4 of the days, I will keep posting something in the group so that you watch those lectures. Whose lectures? Senior professors' lectures. Okay, professors from Delhi University or JNU or from other central universities who have spoken about the same topic. They are academically clear. Sometimes they can be boring. Okay, let me be very honest, because I also had sometimes boring professors, but what they'll speak will be correct. It will be articulate in the right technical words, and it will help you to revise better. So it's not that you're making notes from them, but you've just put them on play and you're listening to them. Okay. If you're finding 1 or 2 words important or essential, you're noting their words also. Okay. Once in a while, suppose if I get any invite from the university related to someone's live session, some senior professor, I'll try to arrange a session for all of you. I mean, because we have to arrange, like, you know, the seats and this and that, so that not only you get exposed to the idea of sociology in this manner, you get interested and enrolled into such live discussions and debates also, whereby people are discussing about issues which are important from social concerns, so that your domain of understanding expands. Okay. You see the kind of questions that are asked every now and then in the world of sociology. It's very much interesting and sometimes very much updated. Like, for example, when hashtag #MeToo movement was carried forward, you'll be surprised to know that that very year, UPSC asked a short note question on the #MeToo movement. Why? Because in your syllabus, there is social movements. Now, do you expect that on social movements, the books which have been written by other sociologists, okay, do you expect them to consolidate about #MeToo movement in 2016, 14, 15, 12, 10, 5, 7, whenever they have written the book? No, they have not. The rainbow movement, the #MeToo movement, they are something which is current. So when the examiner asks you such questions, the examiner wants to see if you are understanding the theory behind the social movement and connecting the theory with the movement which is ongoing. So connecting theory with contemporary, blending it together and writing the answer. That's something which the examiner shall expect from us. Getting it? And how to blend that, how to create that, I'll share that. Also, there are some selected candidates, selected students' notes also. I'll share those notes in the group so that you get an idea how students also prepare flowcharts and notes and how they also keep adding the material. So that you keep getting inspired. If you come across some important information, something which is good, academically enriching, related to the chapter which is being taught or which has been taught, feel free to share it in the group. Okay, there is a group for sharing all the academic posts. So feel free to do that. Okay. Now, as we are going to start, now you're familiar with few terms now, right? So as you're familiar with the few terms, how about capitalism here was a complement of socialism? Capitalism here was a complement of socialism here? No, that's a completely incorrect expression, Nishan. Capitalism was like we can say contradicted, it was questioned, it was countered by socialism. Because socialism contested that there can be other ways of existence, politically as well as socially, and capitalism is creating more damage rather than helping the situation. Any book for like starting sociology, if anyone is interested to buy books, okay, 2 books you can purchase, okay, but only 2 books to begin with. Don't get into purchasing a lot of books and overwhelming yourself. One you can buy, this is more like a Dukhi, that is Essential Sociology of Nitin Sangwan, which everyone will be talking about, okay. So, like, you know, what Nitin has done is that he has, there have been, like, you know, other base books for sociology which were referred to earlier, and also IGNOU. So he consolidated the information from all places, like copied, pasted it, and created a wholesome material. So this book is, I would say, it is a basic introduction to a concept. If you are not understanding it from the other book, that is Harlambus and Holborn, not Heald. People will say Heald. Don't buy Heald. Okay, Heald is relatively smaller. It's orange color book, smaller book. So many people are like smaller, so it is easier. Let me buy that. Don't buy. Harlambus and Heald was published earlier. It was the first version of the book. And it has case studies of 1970s, 1980s. Even the latest one is of, like, you know, I remember late 1980s. Okay. So it's not very updated. Harlambus and Holborn, this is the spelling, Harlambus, the same author, and Holborn. This book is more updated. You can find case studies of 2010-11 also. Okay. So this is more updated. This is fatter, definitely. But who is asking you to study all chapters? Not all chapters have to be studied. There are few chapters that need to be studied. 2 basic books, more than enough to begin with. Later, you will realize that if you are thorough with my handouts and you are able to, like, update it and connect it and practice the previous year question paper, you are fit to fight in the exam. Okay. Reading of the booklets will enrich you academically, and some other supplements which I'll keep posting in the group that will enrich you further. Okay. Now, with respect to this, when we are discussing about it, all of you have attended the first open session. Yeah. Okay. Those who have not, please do attend. There I have discussed how to prepare notes. Okay. How to prepare notes for sociology, because I thought in open session what all to discuss. So let me discuss a bit of syllabus and how to prepare notes, how to go about with the discipline. Today, I thought, let me just give a basic background, a brief overview about the very first articulation of the chapter. So, if you listen to the first lecture, you must be remembering how to prepare the notes. What was the method? First and foremost, you should place the syllabus, the details of the syllabus. Like today, for example, when we are starting with this, so this is the syllabus of chapter 1. So this should be there. After this syllabus of chapter 1, then behind this should be the basic material. Like for example, this handout. After this handout, you should be open to create, like, put a page or two and write down all the keywords or, like, important sentences which you read and you are like, oh, this sentence can be used in multiple places, or this keyword I should not forget. So you can make a list of those keywords or sentences. That way it improves your vocabulary and sociological terminology. Then what you should do, you should put the previous year question paper by solving the answers, by writing the model answers or the structure of the answers. Thus, when you would be revising, what would be in front of you? The syllabus. Okay, after the syllabus, you will be like having all the material, the notes. After the notes, the keywords, jargons, terms, sentences, which are troublesome and what you should remember. So troublesome, get to remember. So that's there. And after that, the previous year question with the model answer. That's the method how you need to consolidate the material. All right, all of you are understanding now. So when you are understanding that modernity and various social changes are happening in Europe, and a brief overview has been given related to the social changes that have happened. That is, we can see the political change in the form of French Revolution, and the French Revolution introducing the idea of liberty, equality and fraternity, which became the watchwords for modern state. Watchwords for modern state, why? Now these are the expressions which I say that you should note down. Why watchwords for modern state? Do you think you understand the word? Yes. Can you use this expression right now? No. So despite of knowing it, when you are unable to use it, does it pull your expression down? Does it impact your language? Yes. You need both. You need understanding, also the capability of to express. What is the use that you understand but you can't express it? Right? So these are the simple expression. Liberty, equality and fraternity became the watchwords of modern state. Examiners like, wow. Another method is of writing the same is French Revolution gave the various ideals or ideas related to liberty, equality and fraternity. Full stop. Fine. But which one is more impressive? The first one. And if many sentences like that of the first one are written, answer after answer after answer, that is how one student gets 5.5, another one gets 6 or 6.5. You grab that half marks extra answer after answer. There are 19 questions. You are leading by 10 marks just by improving your language. And you must be aware that by 30 marks difference, you are rank 1, and by 30 marks difference, you are rank 750. Only 30 marks difference from rank 1 to rank 750. So, language can help boost your marks. Work on the language. All right. That's why I'll keep underlining some key expressions and highlighting that whenever I'm teaching a topic. Anyway, so we understood that a lot of transformations are occurring in Europe, right? So when all these transformations are occurring in the Europe, when we are discussing about this idea of modernity and different type of changes which are happening, industrialism is happening, capitalism is happening, urban centers are coming up. Why will urban centers come up? Because now those feudal lords, their brothers who are traveling and coming back, and they are getting into innovation. They are opening factories. Will they open the factories in the fields? No. In the outskirts of the village or in the outskirts of the place where people are living, in barren land, in open land. See, if I have to open a factory in this classroom, I can easily open, right? A small factory can be opened in this classroom. This classroom is big enough to do that. But if I have to cultivate in this classroom, I'll be barely able to cultivate enough to survive for a year. But a little cottage industry can be opened in this room, right? There can be 6-7 rooms which can be created out of this classroom, and one room dedicated for one purpose, right? Are you understanding that? So factories, they need lesser space. So don't you think the feudal lord can provide that space to his son who is a trader or a merchant? That is possible. Or the person has money from trade, the person can purchase the land also. Because in the later stage of feudalism, we see that land became a commodity and sale and purchase in certain situations was possible. So when they started capturing land in the outskirts, opening industries, the surplus labor of the feudal society or the hidden unemployment of the feudal society, it started flowing, it started moving to the industrial societies, to the industrial areas. Will that lead to urbanism? Yeah, what is urbanism? When 70% or more population is living on non-agricultural activity, is associated with non-agrarian activities. That is something which is associated with what? The phenomenon of urbanization. Okay, so we can see that urbanism is a byproduct. Why? So urbanism is a byproduct because industrialization, because of capitalism, right? Can you understand that? Yeah. And then liberal democracy. You understand now liberal democracy. Why? Laws which are liberal, which are based on policy of non-interference, which are easing business, which are easing the existence of the capitalist to do business, to compete in the market, to push the product, easing the border tax, easing the import-export tax. All this can be influenced by the governments. And now the capitalist can get it influenced due to liberal democracy. Can you understand the background now? Right? And because of this, what do we understand by modernization? When you write it in sociology, that modernization is a rational. So rational, why? Because it is based on logic. It is based on scientific do's, don'ts, why, what, how, explanation of the reason why something is happening. So rational, second word is what? Transformation. When the change is wholesome and massive, it is called transformation. So I have not written rational change. The word is transformation. Pay attention to every word. So, rational transformation of what? Psychological, social, economic, and political aspects of society. Zation means what? Zation means process. The process of becoming modern. So, modernization, the process of becoming modern. What kind of process is it? It is a rational transformation, a process of rational transformation of psychological, social, economic, and political aspects of the society. Right? With this brief background, now I am going to step into this domain formally. Right? Wanted to ask something? Yes. Yes, yes. Economically, politically, socially, the individual will start coming to the forefront. Yes, countries, nations, societies, all of them will be there. No, it is not. For the simple reason that, modernity or modernization bears the seed of contradiction or binary opposition within it. So on one hand, modernization or modernity will talk about human rights, equality, fraternity, brotherhood, and on the other hand, it will facilitate exploitation of the individual by the market in the name of salary, in the name of excruciating working hours, in the name of getting the person trapped in the, we can say, cycle of consumerism. So both the binary oppositions are existing in modernity. That's why many people hate modernity, or they say in the name of modernity, they will trap us and make us a cog in the wheel of the market. That's why not many thinkers are appreciative of modernity. They say that modernity gives birth to a lot of crimes, a lot of different types of social problems. Okay, we'll be talking about all of it. Yes. Watchwords of modern states means. Watchwords of modern states means these are the words on the basis of which we determine whether a state is modern or not. Okay, so that's there. Okay, now, so all of you are understanding this, right? Okay. If any, like those students who are saying that, ma'am, please add me to the group. Okay, so for that, I'll just share this contact detail of Madam. So you can just take it down and you can share your details with him and he shall be adding you to the group. Wait just a second. So anyone who doesn't have his number. So Maram sir's number is this for you. So this is like 8373 and 982 and 303. If you have any basic doubts also related to the any terminology or anything, because he is like, he has appeared for mains and all, and he has been selected for few other exams. He chooses not to join defense services and other services in which he got selected. He's very strict about the very idea of clearing only civil services, because he's like, ma'am, either I will like get selected for civil services and go and serve my state, or else I'll prefer to serve my people and my community through other ways, because there is a tribal council and I'm one of the most educated people in my community, so I can serve directly. I don't want to get into armed forces or any other services in which I got selected, because that will require a lot of traveling, and then my very purpose of becoming civil servant will get defeated. So that clarity of purpose is something which I really appreciate about him. So, and he is very competent because he has written mains and all with sociology, and he has been a coordinator for more than 2 years now. So you can just ask your basic queries related to sociology from him, or any academic concerns also that you have. If you feel that you need to ask me, then you can reach out to me as well. So all those who are added to the group, you'll find me in the group and you will have access to me from there as well. You can raise the concerns in the group. You want to message me individually, then you can message me individually from the group as well. You can choose my contact or my name, and then you can write to me straight away. So that both the channels are open to speak to me privately, or to call me up privately, or to reach out to Maram, or in the group before everyone, whatever suits your temperament. Okay. Now, so after this, when we are moving ahead, so number has been shared, all the concerns have been addressed. Now, so when we are going to start with this formally, now the thing is, first and foremost, the background which I was discussing with all of you, that when we are speaking about the background of sociology, we can see that politically and socially, we can see that there was the Dark Ages, whereby the fall of Roman Empire happened, Renaissance started articulating. So we can see that from 5th century to like 15th century AD, we can see that Renaissance is articulating, and it starts contesting, it starts questioning. This is creating the noise. Okay. So when we see that Renaissance is articulating itself from 5th century to 15th century, we see that it starts questioning and contesting the traditional practices, and those practices which are threatening the, we can say, the society, or which are making people undergo some regressive mindset. So we can see that a byproduct of it in the 17th to 18th century is the period of Enlightenment, when the people, they started questioning everything. See, that's why when we look upon the concept which Auguste Comte is discussing, so he is talking about Auguste Comte. He is also considered as father of sociology. The term sociology is given when we speak of it. So we can see that it's Auguste Comte who's giving the term sociology. He was working under Saint Simon. Saint Simon is the person who is before Auguste Comte. Auguste Comte was working under him, but Saint Simon gave the term social physics. So when Saint Simon died, it was then that Auguste Comte was writing his essays, and he realized that there is a statistician, a woman who is working on statistics. So she is getting her reports published under the topic of social physics. So he said that there is going to be a conflict with the names. So he changed the name from social physics to sociology. Okay. And he was initially working as an apprentice, you can say, and as a like we can say, someone who was working as a reader for Saint Simon. Okay. So Saint Simon was a physicist. He was a professor of physics. And thinkers like Saint Simon, they started thinking that when the society is undergoing a lot of turmoil like in the form of French Revolution, in the form of Industrial Revolution, why not have a scientific discipline which can systematically study the society the way we systematically study any scientific process. And when we study a scientific process systematically, what do? We try to understand what is the cause, what is the reason behind the problem, what is the impact, and what ought to be done. So there is a, like we can say, method and technique to study the problem, There is a systematic method to derive the conclusion, and then there is a systematic level of suggestions how to overcome the problem. That's how we go about with science, right? There is no abstract or randomness in science. Science is very calculated. You can definitely say x plus y equals to whatever, okay, whatever is the formula, okay. So you can always have a formula for science. You can always have a sense of calculativeness, a sense of rationality, right? So these thinkers, they felt that how about going ahead and finding a discipline which can systematically and scientifically, remember the two words, which can systematically and scientifically study the society, the problems of the society, and find solutions, long-term, wholesome solutions for what the society is undergoing. Why are they trying to find solutions for the society in a scientific manner? Because society is undergoing rupture, problems, challenges. So there is both the things, hope and despair. When I say the society is experiencing hope, what do I mean to say by hope? So with French Revolution, on one side there is hope that a new system, a new political order can come. People can have better way of life. People can have more political say. Even we can say the third estate or the commoners can have equal vote. So that's hope. And what is despair? What is this system going to lead to? Is it creating anarchy and chaos? How many people are being killed? How many people are dying in the name of this revolution? How many people are massacred? So there is restlessness, there is uncertainty. You know, after the French Revolution, the society of France could not stabilize itself for 60 years. 60 years is so tremendous, isn't it? Imagine at your age, you see some revolution happening in India. And then you start aging. You become 30, then 40, then 50, then 60, then 70, then 80, and you're seeing that the society is not stabilizing itself. So then you start saying, when I was in my early teenage, the society that I had seen was relatively stable. That was far better than what we are living now. That's how you compare, right? So for us, it is very easy to compare and understand history because we can compare like time periods, we can compare the rules, we can compare what changes were happening. But when people undergo the process, when they live the process, that becomes very tough. And that too when there is no global experience of experimenting with the modern version of democracy, the modern version of liberty or equality or fraternity. For the first time you are experiencing and you are trying to find the right answer. What is the way to go about with it? So there will be two methods of responding to the change. One method will be embracing the change. Another method will be resisting the change. That's how people respond, right? So people who will be embracing the change, they'll be like, ab to jo hona tha ho gaya. Whatever change had to happen, it has happened. Now, whatever had to happen has happened. So let us embrace the change and try to find solutions within it. Trying to find the answers within it. And then there will be another set of individuals. And what will the other set of individuals talk about? So the other set of individuals, they will be talking about the possibility that, well, the problems are all a byproduct of the new pattern that is introduced. Let us get rid of this system and get back to the old order. Because the old order was bringing peace, stability, harmony in the society. And we have lost our peace and stability. So those people who will be talking about the glorious days, old order, they will be referred as conservatives. So the intellectual world will get divided into two groups. One will be that of conservatives and one will be that of radicals. Radicals will be pro-change, conservatives will be anti-change. And both in the end of the day are talking about how to restore the order, how to maintain peace, how to maintain harmony, how to maintain equilibrium. And sociology is a byproduct of both hope and despair. How? So the method to study the change, why change is needed, how change is needed, what should go ahead with. So that we are getting from whom? The people who are working on hope, the people who are working on radical principles, people who are talking about change. And the conservatives, their methods are not something which is appreciated, but what is appreciated? Their goals. What is the goal of a conservative? How to maintain peace, how to maintain harmony, how to get equilibrium of the society. So sociology will be a byproduct of both hope and despair. Hope for what? a brilliant future. A brilliant future, who wanted? A brilliant future by change. By change, radicals. Right? So they had hope. They were finding hope in change. And who was finding despair in change? Dukhi kaun ho raha tha change se? Who was finding despair? Who was getting sad with the change? Conservatives. Get accustomed to the words. Memorize the word. At least 2 words you can memorize, no? Right? That's why I'm introducing words so very slowly. You can notice that, right? I'm not even taking the name of the thinkers. I'm not even taking the name of who is radical, who is conservative. I'm just introducing 2 words to all of you, right? So this person who is a conservative, what is this person giving us? Because we are learning from all. So what are we learning from the conservative? That the end goal of sociology should be how to maintain order, stability, peace, equilibrium. Understanding that? So both are building the world of sociology. Now when these intellectuals, these thinkers, all of them, by whatever method they are applying, they are trying to find a solution for the society. They are trying to find what the society is undergoing. Let us understand, let us observe, let us introduce a possibility of social change because of that. Okay. Then what are these individuals hinting upon? They are hinting upon the possibility that if we systematically study and understand the processes which the society is undergoing, we can find a meaningful solution to have a better social order. And this quest led to the systematic study of the society, and which led to the emergence of the discipline called sociology. Getting it? And as I told you, a lot of intellectuals, they resisted. Why do we need a separate discipline? Every aspect of this discipline is studied already by the other disciplines. You know that sociology is youngest of all social sciences. It is the last of the humanities subject which came into existence. First was philosophy. After philosophy, philosophical logic, which gave birth to mathematics and all, okay? And then we can see that this philosophy, it further kept getting sub-branched, and then later we see a lot of other disciplines coming into existence. We see political science, we see history, we see psychology, we see anthropology, okay? All these are coming into existence. Sociology is the latest, and that's why it is the most scientific. Because all the thinkers, they will use principles and methods and techniques of science. And that's why all the students of science will find it easier to understand. Easier because it will be more logical. It will be based on cause and effect relationship. It will be based on some scientific methods and techniques and principles. Understanding this, all of you? Yeah? So, because one of you had asked this question, so I'm just connecting that. I was discussing about Auguste Comte. So Auguste Comte, he said that the primitive man was a man who was scared of nature. He used to see change in it. For example, the person was going in a cave and coming out of the cave, sunlight falling on his head, and the person is seeing that there is let's say the shadow falling. And he's like, I'm moving, the shadow is moving. Why? What is it? I can't even touch it. What is it all about? Going to the stream, the person can see one's reflection, getting scared. Sleeping in the dream is able to see dead relatives, what was that? Getting it? I can't see the person, but I can see the person in my dreams. Is fearing thunder, rainstorm, nature, the changing weather or the climatic conditions, right? So all this is making the primitive man scared. And in this situation, when the primitive person is getting scared, the person adheres to what? Religion. So the primitive man is deeply religious, and the society is theocratic, theological society. Now again a new word is coming. I don't expect you to memorize it, but at least become accustomed to the word. So theological society is based on what? Theology, theological society based on religion. Then man slowly and steadily starts developing logic. What should be there? What ought to be there? So when what should be there, what ought to be there comes into existence, this logical mind starts developing. And this logical mind gives birth to philosophical logic. And that gives birth to a metaphysical society. Metaphysics, you must have heard the word, maybe, yeah? So metaphysics, metaphysical, so metaphysical society. And this metaphysical society is based on what? should be there. It is based on what ought to be there. That was my foot here. Okay. So what should be there? What ought to be there? So what should be there, what ought to be there means not what is, not focusing on the present moment, what's happening, what is there, what ought to be. They are talking about what should be there, the near future. So they are trying to find solutions for the near future. But rationality has started, like, coming in the scenario. Logic has started coming in the scenario. And then comes the third stage, the modern man. And the society becomes positivist. And what is this positivist society? So this positivist society is based on scientific temperament, rational temperament, trying to understand what is happening, why is it happening, how to go about with the change. And the person is constantly trying to debate and understand that whatever change is articulating, if we understand why it is happening, and when we understand how it is unfolding before all of us, we can understand what should be done. Right? So systematic understanding of the past, the present experience, and on the basis of it, becoming capable to take decisions in the near future. So who is coming in the center? In the first time, we can see the center was God, supernatural energy. Ancient society, so God, supernatural energy, and religion. In the medieval society, community, king, kingdom. Understanding that? And in modern society, who is in the center? The individual. What does the individual want? What should be given to the individual? What are the rights of the individual? So are you seeing how the transition is happening? Yeah. So first it was religion, taking the control over the society, or any kind of supernatural or some kind of, like we can say, an institutional engagement with something closer to the idea of religion or God. And then second is, that is the philosophical society, and who's taking control and command? The community. Community sentiment, community relation, what the community would decide. And the third is individual. That is the modern society. So that's how you can connect the idea of modernity again with the idea of individual. Right? All of you can understand this? So you can see the articulation of this discipline happening in this manner. And the first credit definitely goes to Saint Simon. Saint Simon is inspiring whom? Auguste Comte. Auguste Comte, he was actually a student of, you can say, mathematics and chemistry. And he wanted to be an apprentice because of some financial hardship. And that is how he gets connected to Saint Simon. And Auguste Comte, as his apprentice, when he's helping him to write the research papers, the speeches, it is that way that he starts clicking with him. And then Saint Simon dies, and the work falls on the shoulder of Saint Simon. Auguste Comte. And Auguste Comte keeps writing, and Auguste Comte presents his papers and essays, and soon he becomes disillusioned. And after getting disillusioned, this person, Auguste Comte, he got interested into the world of religion and politics. So the way, the Babas and these people, they get interested in religion and politics. So this guy, he got interested in that, and he started doing research and reading about it. That's the change that you'll realize. And that's why the Society of France, where Auguste Comte was born and intellectually he was contributing, it was not ready to accept Auguste Comte and his intellectual legacy in the development of sociology. Initially, you will see a resistance and negation in the French society. So that's why Durkheim, when he emerges as a sociologist in the world of France, in the academic world of France, so Durkheim quotes whom? Herbert Spencer. Because Herbert Spencer was intellectually more accepted. Herbert Spencer is not a French, he's a British. But his research work, his explorations related to society and connecting society with a biological organism became very popular. And Herbert Spencer also motivated the ideas of individualism, which gained a lot of importance in the world of intellectuals, especially the capitalists also paid attention to Herbert Spencer's research paper. Herbert Spencer from England, he was invited all the way to US and rewarded even there. And when he was rewarded with accolades over there, then what happened? Herbert Spencer gained a lot of intellectual recognition globally. I mean, anyone from one continent called to another continent and provided with an award, definitely that will make a change, right? So Herbert Spencer was the person who gave organismic analogy. What is organismic analogy? So he compared the society with an organism. What is analogy? Analogy means comparison. Okay, when we compare. So he gave the organismic analogy. What is organismic analogy when we speak of it? It means that, like, let us say, it means that the way, like, let's say, ye to keeda wala diagram bana. This is my famous diagram. Okay, so like the way we can see this insect, which is an, like, it's not very proper, but imagine that it is an insect. Okay, so sometimes on imagination basis also we can ease the process. So in this insect, we can see there are different organs. There can be a kidney, there can be something like maybe the digestive system, there can be a stomach, something like respiratory, a lot of other organs, right? All organs are working in coordination with each other for the systematic and smooth survival of this organism, isn't it? So all organs are working in coordination for the smooth survival of this organism. In the similar manner, okay, in a society, there are different institutions and organizations. So there is political institution, there is social institution, like institution of marriage, institution of family. We can see there will be institution of education, right? So there can be different institutions in a society. They will have expertise of their own, but with their expertise, there will also be coexistence. There will also be sharing. And because of this coexistence and sharing and supporting each other, what will happen? What will happen? The society will survive. So the society is surviving because of what? The society is surviving because of every institution supporting each other, coexisting with each other. The way an organism's organs support each other, coexist with each other, despite having its own individual expertise. So this concept was given by Herbert Spencer. And what did this person Spencer do? Spencer compared the organism with that of a society. So this was called organismic analogy. Analogy means comparison. Okay. So Herbert Spencer gave organismic analogy. And this organismic analogy and the concepts of how a society ought to function and how to study the problems of it inspired Durkheim. So imagine Durkheim is from the same France, but he is not quoting Auguste Comte. Whom is he quoting? Herbert Spencer. That's how intellectual tradition gets carried forward. And why is he not quoting Auguste Comte? Now you understand the logic, how the person carried forward sociology. Did he do justice? Yes. I mean, now when we speak of it neutrally, we know that yes, he took it forward, he wrote essays, he discussed about it, but he did not carry forward his intellectual tradition. He stopped his work in between and he switched to other domains. He got interested in politics and religion. So when you intellectually quit upon a concept, then a society may not recognize you or may not give you the similar regard. So the French society said that his experiments and his social researches and his essays are a sham. So initially, Auguste Comte in the intellectual world, his approach and his aspiration to create a separate discipline to study society was treated as a sham. Understanding that, all of you? Yeah. So bit by bit now the concepts are getting introduced to all of you. So what I'll do is I will post this material to all of you. First and foremost in this material, you'll see development and emergence of sociology. I'll be talking about the three concepts: enlightenment, the dawning of age of reason, French Revolution, political sovereignty, and industrial revolution, the system of mass manufacture, and how this age of revolution is articulating. There are little paragraphs related to period of enlightenment, related to French Revolution, and then further related to industrial revolution. After completing these concepts, then you can find the component of scope of sociology. Okay, so I expect all of you to finish scope of sociology. I mean, this is just like 2 pages of reading, which all of you can see that, right? Sociology and other social sciences, you can read it later. But I think 2 pages you can read today, right? So I'll be sharing this material with all of you. Just read the two pages and get back to the component tomorrow. I'll be connecting and comparing the ideas and introducing the concepts technically with more technical words, more dimensions, and how to go about it. You must have seen that I have posted the previous year question paper already in the group. After reading the 2 pages, try to find out that how the questions are coming. You'll realize the questions to be tougher. Like for example, if we are talking about the questions, so all of us can see, so you can see the nature of questions. 2020, 2021 questions are posted in the group. But all of you can see the nature of questions over here from 2019 to 2000 and we can say 2009, 9 to 19 questions over here. And you can see this. Discuss the historical antecedents of emergence of sociology as a discipline. What is antecedents? The word. What does it imply? Yes. That means if you have poor vocabulary, even if you are knowing the answer, you cannot write it, right? So improving and working upon vocabulary is a necessity, right? You already know what are the historical antecedents. Okay, so try to find out the meaning of the word antecedent. Read the 2 pages. Ask yourself, do I already know? Very good, Amanpreet. So antecedent is associated with something which has existed before. So what was existing before the emergence of sociology, which led to the emergence of it as a discipline? So what existed before sociology, the emergence of sociology, which led to its emergence? Yes, the intellectual revolution in the form of period of enlightenment, the political revolution in the form of French Revolution, and the third was associated with the, the commercial revolution or the economic revolution in the form of, you can just think about it anyway. So is it talking about the previous or is it talking about the byproduct? Is it talking about what happened before or is it talking about what happened after the emergence of sociology? This is something which you will be ascertaining after finding out the meaning of the antecedent. So you are not going to accept the face value of things. You are going to find out the meaning of antecedent. Okay. Anyway, you can see there are some other core areas, simplistic questions if I take up. So you can, these are comparisons. Okay. So sociology emerged in Europe and flourished to begin with on a social reformist orientation in US. You had to think of American Revolution, right? How the later day processes like Chicago School and all came into existence, which led to the birth of sociology. So and evolution of sociology. So all of it has to be discussed, enrolled, and explained. So just go through this material which I'll be sharing with all of you. Just see the titles, topics, headings of the rest of the material. Read the 2 pages, right? I'm keeping the session slight towards the beginning. We are going to have 3 sessions in a week. Rest of the days we will be like sharing and discussing in the group half the time. Okay. Once this let's say a month is over, once you have warmed up with sociology, I'll increase the sessions from 3 per week to 5 per week. Okay. So that will be Monday to Friday. Presently it will be Monday to Wednesday. After Monday to Wednesday, we'll stretch it up to Monday to Friday. And let the process will be gradual for all of you. Let it not be suddenly overwhelming. That you're not understanding 1 chapter over. You're not understanding 2nd chapter over. And it is happening within a week. Let that not happen. Just go gradual. Once things are fixed, I'll just pace it up. All right. So thank you. I hope all of you enjoyed the session and getting enrolled into the world of sociology, though it was very, very, I would say, basic, very basic. All right. Thank you. Let's hope to meet again tomorrow.